Dr. Doom's Doom Ray of Doom.
Yes, you saw the correct thumbnail. Lego Dr. Doom is who I'm picking. Lego Dr. Doom. What you need to understand here is that my options were minimal. I had three choices. I could A, pick Otto Octavius and rename the Trinity to Best Insomniac Game Spider-Man Villains of All Time, which is hard to fit in a title. B, give money to Square Enix so I can play Marvel's Avengers. Or C, that. But it's not just that he was one of the only viable options. I have a legitimate argument to make on why not only is he one of the best Marvel villains in video games, he's also the best Doctor Doom adaptation outside of animated TV shows. I'm going to turn your screen black. During this time, I want you to picture this scenario in your mind. The post-credits scene of Avengers 5 features the Silver Surfer entering the Earth's atmosphere as suddenly he's shot down by a ray and his cosmic surfboard shatters. Observing from his monitor, Doom stands up and proclaims, "The board is broken. You have your tasks. Bring the shards to me." The camera pans around to reveal Magneto, Green Goblin, Wing Wu, Red Skull, and Abomination. With that, the MCU's Masters of Evil are announced, and the minds of the fanbase blown. While that may seem like fanfiction, that's the amount of fan service crammed into LEGO Marvel superheroes, and it's all glossed over with a bricky paint job. It's an entertaining fantasy to live out, especially when this is how jam-packed full of iconic characters the MCU could be in a few more years, once the X-Men properties are integrated into the more expansive universe. While I wholeheartedly admit that I've outgrown the wacky hijinks of LEGO game adaptations that I once found myself giggling to when I booted this game up on my Wii U after school, there will always be a nostalgic charm in some of the best characters of all time performing Charlie Chaplin gags. Traveller's Tale games specifically evoke the parody films of the 80s in their adaptations, which is utterly unique to say the least. When my favourite 80s comedy just so happens to be The Naked Gun, I can't help but find myself completely charmed by their visual comedy routines. I chose LEGO Dr. Doom specifically because Traveller's Tales are often relegated to adaptations of films, and only get to tell their own stories in the LEGO superhero games, and of course my childhood crack after Skylanders, LEGO Dimensions. I chose Doom over Kang because he was a more memorable antagonist. That could be nostalgia though. Still, I was more impressed that in a game with Magneto and Loki as main antagonists, just how much Doom ran circles around them. From the visual design of his crackling electricity and Fred Tatscore's guttural voice delivery,
Dr. Doom's Doom Ray of Doom.
Doom manages to steal every scene he's in when he's arguably not even the main antagonist. Once the LEGO and comedy aspects are peeled away from it, you end up with what could easily be the next Marvel Comics crossover event. It might lack the moral quandaries of Civil War or the feeling of desperation in World War Hulk, but it would undoubtedly feel just as epic as both of those masterful story arcs. While Doom's end goal of using
Dr. Doom's Doom Ray of Doom
might be a bit too Silver Age for modern audiences to find threatening, it still exudes Victor's trademark narcissism, a trait that Traveller's Tales decided to exaggerate and oddly enough left the rest of his personality alone. But of course, this is a parody, so I'm glad that their comedic spin at least has some basis in the comic book original. While this incarnation of Victor may far and away be the most Looney Dooms version of the Fantastic Four's nemesis, hidden under those layers of
Dr. Doom's Doom Ray of Doom
is a Marvel Comics epic, orchestrated by what is easily the second best adaptation of Doctor Doom ever put to screen.